Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Every leader has a journey. With the Leader Speak, I'm trying to get to know the journey that they've gone through. What are the hurdles they have faced, and how does their day look like being an entrepreneur? The things that we can learn from them. I would like to thank you all for joining us today for the Leader Speak. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here. I'm your host, Vandana Verma, and today we have a very incredible person with us, Aaron Rinehart. He has spent his career solving challenging engineering problems for organizations such as US Department of Homeland Security, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which is NASA, and the Department of Defense. Reinhardt has also been featured speaker at several media outlets and conferences, most notably the National Press Club, RSA, Velocity, and ABC News. He's also been interviewed and quoted in various publications, including Huffington Post, Dark Reading, Security Weekly, ISMG, and Market Watch. Aaron has been expanding the possibilities of chaos engineering. He's also began pioneering the application of security in chaos engineering during his tenure as the chief security architect at the largest private healthcare company in the world, UnitedHealth Group, UHG. While at UHG, Rinehart has also released ChaoSlingr, one of the first open source software releases focused on using chaos engineering in cybersecurity to build more resilient systems. Wow, that's incredible. That's so much to learn from you. And this is one thing which I think I want to touch upon today for sure. Security chaos engineering, because not many people know about it. And you've written a book about it. It's amazing.
It's been an amazing journey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm sure I want to know about your journey and how did you started your own venture, Barracuda? And what are the key things that went behind creating an organization?
Sure. So a little bit about Barracuda. Barracuda, we are the creators of Chaos Engineering. My co-founder is Casey Rosenthal. He was the creator of Chaos Engineering Netflix, and I am known for being the creator of Security Chaos Engineering. I recently, like Vandana said, I released the O'Reilly report on Security Chaos Engineering with Kelly Shortridge, who is an amazing. I couldn't have picked a better co-author. We're actually writing the full O'Reilly book right now as well on it, which is be around 400 pages and more case studies and whatnot. But Barracuda, what we've done is we've kind of evolved chaos engineering into what we call continuous verification. And it's really about accelerating time to value, utilizing techniques like chaos engineering and more advanced observability. So it's basically the chaos engineering, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's the technique or practice of proactively introducing turbulent conditions into a system to try to determine the conditions by which a system or service will fail before it actually fails. So it's a proactive technique. So all the other techniques in the market are about the reactive, the time to detect, time to remediate, which is okay, it's good. It's just that what we're trying to do is we're trying to be proactive and discover some of the brittleness in the system before it manifests into an outage or a security problem. So Barracuda has a platform that focuses on doing that on Kubernetes and Kafka, and we'll continue to expand our modules, but that's what we focus on now. We have a pretty unique approach to doing that, and look forward to chatting with people about it. We're about 2 years old. We co-founded about 2 years ago. I originally met Casey, it's almost 4.5, 5 years ago now, when I released ChaoSlingr. The Netflix team's like, what are you doing? Like, they're like, what are you doing? You're security and using chaos engineering for security? Well, like you've been done, I've mostly been a builder most of my career. So I don't look at the system and its security as separate things. I look at it as the system is secure or not. Right. And security controls and capability, they suffer latency, they suffer brittleness and degradation, and so I took the concepts from Chaos Monkey and I wrote a tool called ChaoSlingr, and the Netflix team, particularly Casey and Nora Jones, invited me out, and that was sort of the beginning of our relationship. And since I also wrote the Security Chaos Engineering chapter on the main O'Reilly book on chaos engineering as well. But yeah, that's a little bit about Barracuda, a little bit how we got started. So
yeah, you've done a lot of work around chaos engineering and cybersecurity and try to combine that, which is one area where I feel a lot of people are lacking. A lot of people are still trying to cope up with it, or I would say a lot of people are not aware about it. And when they're trying to do the DevSecOps, DevOps, it is important to understand why chaos engineering is needed at this time, and especially when we are under this kind of pandemic.
So here's a great example. So, I think this helps me understand it more basically. Is that how the question would be? How does a system become stable? How does a legacy system become that legacy system that barely has an outage, barely has a problem? The engineers feel competent in it. The documentation reflects what it actually is. Feel comfortable with that system. Well, the question is, was that system always that way? Right? Like most likely not. We typically learn about how the system really worked versus how we thought it worked through a series of surprises, outages, incidents, breaches, what have you, right? That informs us that, hey, the system didn't quite work the way we mentally thought it did. So we learn about that, and we slowly learn through these unforeseen events. But the problem with that is they're costly from a customer impact perspective or from an operational productivity perspective. Like, what chaos engineering, you can think about it as a way of proactively accelerating that kind of practice and trying to surface the brittleness or the weaknesses in the system before they cause customer pain. And one of the ways we also like to try to explain it in America is that we help you find the edge of your system before you fall off of it. Because right now, you don't know, nobody has an implicit understanding of what is the edge, right? Until you fall off of it, you're like, oh, now I found the edge. And that's what we're trying to do with chaos engineering. With security in particular, what I've discovered through my research over time is a better way to explain what I'm doing and the value I'm getting from it. But there's a first principles problem that chaos engineering for security is addressing, is that as an engineer, I need the flexibility, convenience to change something. And I'm changing it because I'm trying to deliver business value delivered to a customer. That's my job. I'm delivering value to customer. But security is a context-dependent discipline. You need to know, you need to understand the object by which you're trying to secure in order to know what needs to be secured about it. But this forces security to be in a stateful design. As a stateful situation. And so what happens is you're constantly changing to deliver business value to a customer, but the security controls are not changing along with that. So what happens is you start to get this divergent behavior, and you don't know there's a problem with the control until there's a problem. And that's what the security chaos engineering is what we're doing. We're introducing the condition we expect to be true about the security.
And I'm sure when you're doing all of these things, there are a lot of challenges also that come your way. So how does your day look like? What are the challenges that you see? And how do you overcome all of those challenges? And even I'll tell, I want to know, like, when you started your venture, there were a lot of things that were problematic. And how did you overcome all those hurdles?
Well, you're really good at asking questions. I would say, so my day, I'm the CTO of the company. Casey is the CEO. Casey does mostly engineering. I do mostly everything else, sales, marketing, operations. And you have to have sort of like clear understanding that actually helps us figure out, who's doing what, who's responsible for what. It kind of really helps those boundaries. Some of the early challenges, a lot of times you have as an entrepreneur is messaging. Because you have to have different messaging for investors, different messaging for the market, and different messaging for customer. Those are three different audiences. So, that's a challenge. I think everyone has that challenge as an entrepreneur. VCs, you communicate one way, customers another way, because you have to communicate to the pain or the value that you bring. And the messaging around new emerging capabilities like chaos engineering are hard because there's a lot of people in the market that think it's breaking things and it's like, causing chaos, which is not. It's actually about establishing order in the chaotic system already. So you see the market has an understanding that's not necessarily correct. And so we spend a lot of time, Casey and I do a lot of like marketing type events, sort of to reframe people's understanding, because it's kind of gone off. Chaos engineering is so provocative that people think it's all kinds of crazy stuff, but actually it's a very, very practical, basic technique. And because Netflix invented it as a result of their cloud transformation, they're going from the data center to AWS. AMIs in AWS were just disappearing. So like they designed their systems to be resilient to that problem. So they designed it to be resilient to that issue. And then Chaos Monkey was born to actually test for that and explore the system's retry logic and behavior.
I can relate to it, because if we don't have it on time, if we don't detect it on time, then the systems will fail in the production. And then you'll have more trouble handling that.
Definitely.
Now, you have gone through a 2-year-long journey. There are a lot of learnings that you've got through from it. So can you share some of those learnings, experience with me? I want to learn from you, because this is what I started to learn from the leaders who are part of the industry, who started their own venture. So what are those advices or knowledge imparts from your wisdom that you want to share it with me and the people listening?
See, what are some of the challenges? So messaging has always been a challenge. Just because we have such a provocative technique, there's hiring is always a challenge. I think everyone has that issue. We also for the very beginning, I guess before it's become sort of the market thing, we wanted to build a company that was reflective of society, the colors and shades of society, and we've done that. I think we tried to build a diverse company from the get-go, and it's been. It was a bit of a challenge finding ourselves in the right circles, sure we got the right amount of pipeline, but now it's I think it's really important that you have a diverse mindset from an employee and hiring perspective from the very beginning, and that you have a company that that facilitates sort of, especially if you're going to be a remote company, there's lots of things you have to account for. So we were distributed before COVID, but like there are challenges you have with communications. One of the things that I didn't pick up on, even though UnitedHealth Group was mostly remote, is that people in like Alabama, people in Seattle and LA and Boston communicate differently. Oh, it's the same language, I'm saying building a remote company from the beginning could be a little challenging in its own right. So we found ways to distribute gifts and to do events and that were fun and not just corny stuff. COVID made it tough because we can't get together, so we had to get creative. I would say that what are some of the challenges? The venture capital is always a challenge. Knowing when to raise, knowing how much to raise, knowing how long a runway. I think the whole venture side of things is. Venture capital is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. They don't know how it works. It's not a very widely spoken about thing, but it is, in my opinion, was the way to go for us, at least. It gave us enough runway to build a kind of company and hire the kind of people that we want to build, that can build the kind of culture at Barracuda that we want. And also, spend the right time with customers, ensuring what we're doing is delivering value. I think that's so key, is that, we didn't just build a product and then assume that's what the customers wanted. We actually derived our product from the customer pain that they were receiving, which is I think a different value proposition for the market.
Yeah, I think that is very, very impactful point, that you drive the impact from the consumers itself. Like consumers, you understand what are the pain points that the consumers have. And this is one learning that I'm sure would keep it with me forever, because if you don't understand your consumers, you would never be able to deliver a product which is actually catering to their needs. Thank you so much, Aaron, for joining me today. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.